Welcome to Q&A with S&A. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Shane.
And today we're really excited to welcome, and we're doing this for the very first time where we don't have somebody in the podcast studio with us, Matthew Whyatt, who is the founder and Chief Sales Strategist of Tech Talk. Thank you so much for joining us today, Matt, from sunny Gold Coast. So over to you.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about who you are.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It is sunny on the Gold Coast today, and but I don't want to. But I am wearing.
Don't rub it in. Don't rub it in.
I'm wearing the standard Melbourne black, so I want to make everybody feel comfortable.
Right.
So my life story. Okay,
Yeah, go for
born
it.
in 1975. So. Long story short, started my first tech business when I was 22 with my wife. Thankfully, we're still together. And over that time, we've grown and exited a number of businesses. Took about a year off living in Bali about 12, 13 years ago. Yeah. That really didn't take. I still like the cut and thrust of being in business. And for the last 12 years, I've been a consultant and being tipped into businesses by some of the big four consulting groups when their customers are in software and or technology and they need to build out a sales and marketing strategy and then execute on it. I'm the guy that they would phone. Yep. And the last couple of years, I started a marketing agency to support that because I would build a really great strategy. I would recruit and train a strong sales team. Yep. And then they would go out to a general marketer who really doesn't have the vocabulary or the capability to have a conversation about an enterprise data warehouse or a Meraki switch or these hardcore technical stuff that marketers, on a Tuesday they might be selling a gym membership. It's hard to switch context to sell something complex on the Wednesday. So we started the agency, played with models because I've never really run a marketing agency since then, before, and the last year or so I really locked into how we deliver our service to the customer now. So there you go. That's 20-something years of being in business in the shortest possible
10 seconds.
Well done.
Yeah. What is it that you love most about what you do now? Like thinking about what you do now, because you just said that, it's different to what you used to doing. What is it about this that makes you love it?
Yeah, it's funnily enough, at the deep level, it's the same thing. It's seeing the transformation of my clients. Originally what I did for myself, and we made a reasonable amount of money. Yep. But then it's the transformation of our clients who come to me with a problem. They're great customers. Like, nobody's showing up with a crappy business, right? Yep. So they're showing up with a good product. They've solved a genuine problem. They've reached a certain level of success. Now it's time to put the foot down on the accelerator of the sales and marketing, and they just don't know what to do next. They've exhausted their referral network. They know they've got a good product, and now it's time to really show the world that they've got a good product. Because marketing is a dual thing. Yes, it does generate leads and it does create interest, but what it also does, it's the external manifestation of how the business thinks about itself, and is it willing to invest in itself, willing to invest in its external persona and how it approaches the world. And then people who want to engage with that company, deep down, they start to recognize if this business is showing up regularly doing marketing, if they're showing up regularly at events and et cetera, putting out podcasts like this, they know that business is trustworthy, and therefore they've bridged that first gap in. I guess sales occurs at the speed in which trust is transferred. And so if a customer trusts you, and like your business, you are trusted advisors for people, if a person can connect those two and say, well, these guys are trusted advisors, they've done it for all these other people, maybe they can do it for me. Yeah. It's the same thing with what I do for my clients. So that was a really long answer. Sorry about that. But it's the transformation of and the value that when a customer calls me up and says, hey, Matt, we just closed that $2 million deal, and the previous year they hadn't done any deals, well, that's something I really get to dine out on for quite a while.
Yeah. And in terms of that life cycle for that product they might be developing, then going to the sales and marketing, what I find as a business advisor is that they put all the money and effort into the first part of it about getting the product, and then they don't allow enough for the next phase of the product cycle, which is getting it out to the market and using that sales and marketing. And that's where you come into it, I assume.
Absolutely. And you would know it from your own customer base, I'm sure, that the businesses that have crossed the chasm, who have created a machine that continually generates leads and sales, they've literally taken their focus from full product development, technical things into the world of, right, now we've got to commercialize this as strongly as possible. And now that commercialization process creates great levels of customer feedback. And in creating that, it creates I guess, a virtuous cycle of feedback, revenue, product development, feedback, revenue, product development.
Yes. Yeah. And like with a lot of software we use software every day like you do, it is constantly, that goes on forever, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And but without the, if you're only ever selling to your friends and family and referrals, it becomes a bit internally focused, and you're really not going to gain that mass market appeal and cross that profitable barrier that a lot of businesses really struggle. They get to that million, they get to that maybe 1.5 million, depending on the product, and they just keep banging up against that, and they just can't step over that line because it's all about product. And the greatest, there's two great myths that exist in my world, and probably a lot of world, but I only deal with software and tech businesses, so I know my world really well. It's build a better mousetrap and the world will be a path to your door, which is false, and build it and they will come, which is also false. So both of those ideas are poison to a lot of entrepreneurs who spend all their time building a product and none of their time trying to tell the world about it.
Yeah. And it's noisy, isn't it? The industry is noisy. So there's your product and 35 other products that may solve a similar problem. And you've got to get them to a point where theirs is the one that everybody is talking about.
The brain is an amazing deletion device. So on the drive into work this morning, you might have, if I said, how many Camrys did you pass? You probably, I don't know, none. Yeah. Maybe, who knows? Maybe. But if you're looking to buy a Camry for your 17-year-old, you'd see 30 of them.
Yes.
And so the brain is an incredible deletion device. And so in that, what you're looking for is to create a recognized brand in the marketplace when you're going out to market, when you're doing a podcast like this, when you're communicating with your potential customers and continually reinforcing your message and being there top of mind. That is the part that actually is really, that's the key to marketing. And it's that, unfortunately, technical people and logic-based people miss the psychologic drive that is what marketing and sales does. It's not just opening up a storefront, putting a shingle out and going, well, I've nailed it, let's go. And with the internet, you might as well put your shop up in the middle of the Nullarbor desert because nobody can find you unless you're actually telling people where you are.
Yeah. And that's an issue as well, that, as you said, tech people, they love what they've produced. Like, they've got this product and they absolutely love it and they've lived and breathed it for however many years it's taken them to develop that product, and they just think that everyone should love it. I don't know how to tell everybody they should love it, and that's where you come in.
That's right. And they love it, and they tell everybody it's better, faster, cheaper, which is, for anybody listening here, is possibly the worst positioning statement ever. Because there's always somebody with more money who's got more access to servers and who can do it faster. And there's always an environment, an overseas environment where they can deliver it cheaper. So if we take that off the table, then it starts becoming interesting about how you communicate your value. But also at the same time, somebody has to be the most expensive. So why shouldn't it be you, first of all? And second of all, better, faster, cheaper is not what most customers are looking for. I bought a TV recently. There was the non-branded TVs. I won't name names, but and the Sony TV was 3 times as much. And I started to really think about, why did I spend 3 times as much on the Sony TV? Well, it's because I trust Sony. That if they do sell me a pup, they sell me something or it breaks, I know that customer service is going to look after me. And if the overseas bill or the other manufacturers, if they're delivering greater levels of frame rate or pixels or however you measure a great TV, lots of features, Well, that's all well and good. But if I turn around and go, oh, I bought a Palsonic, I don't think Palsonic exists anymore, so I can use them as a reference.
I remember that. Yeah. Okay.
I am very, very old.
Yes.
But if a Palsonic fails, well, I tell my friends about it. I'm a Palsonic failed. They go, of course it failed.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Of course. And this is how buyers buy in government. So a lot of my clients sell to government and large corporates is they go, well, of course it failed. You bought from a nobody.
Yeah.
And when you're selling to those types of people or marketing to those people, we need to create a reality in which you show up, you are trustworthy, and you don't want to have somebody turn around and go, of course it failed. So you want somebody to turn around and go, because if my Sony does fail and they don't provide me good customer service, then they go, oh, well, it's just the TV, or, you can't be blamed for buying the Sony. And if you go, because I'm living in tech world, what do they say? Nobody ever got fired for buying IBM.
Yeah.
Like, once again, demonstrating my significant age, but it might be these days, might be AWS, or it might be whatever it might be there. So you've just got to find a way to develop trust. I'm going a bit of a rant here, but I want to share
because I was going to ask, how do you develop that trust? Because if you're a startup or something new to the market, how do you build that trust?
So how do you do it? Is exposure.
Yeah.
Have everybody who's listening to this, they need to be getting out there. And when people say the blog is dead, it's not. It might have transformed into a video. I still put blogs out.
Yeah.
I still have a couple of thousand people signed up to my email newsletter. And that content is about creating familiarity across multiple platforms, across multiple ways of seeing it. And also, if you think about marketing, so I started my first tech business in 1999, and back in those days we would put an advert in the newspaper, which was 5 centimeters long by 1 column wide, and it was in the back of the newspaper, and we would get them to phone a 1-800 number. That was the first time we engaged with the customer, and also the first time the customer had heard of our business and brand. The very first time. Try doing that in 2025.
No.
So what happens is, so marketing or advertising would occur, and then sales would engage, and all along the sales process, the salesperson would have to, deliver documents like brochures, provide demonstrations, tell stories about how other clients have won, build rapport, build trust, do all the work that a salesperson would do over the course of half a dozen, maybe 10 phone calls and conversations, maybe a video call if you're really high tech, but really it was most of those conversations on the phone, or even you'd go and meet them face to face. Today, still the same timeline of a sale, but a person engages with your content, and then Google have come out with a term called the messy middle. And the messy middle travels all over the show. They might, okay, well, these guys exist, and then I'm going to go over here on Instagram, I'm going to see them on Facebook, I'm going to read one of their blogs, maybe download a document, see a video. All of this stuff occurs in the middle, watch a podcast, all of this happens in the middle. And then they go, I've built trust. I've probably seen a bit of a demo, or at least screenshots of the product. I understand they have current clients who are successful, all of this stuff, and I've built a level of trust. And now I'm going to engage. But the thing is, what we can't do is we cannot have our salespeople at that point thinking that the marketing's done all the work. Salespeople at that point need to be better than they ever have been. They need to be more highly trained. So, for example, I've got a client, we just did some recruiting and training, and that client, we now have a 5-page Q&A script that the salesperson needs to ask of the prospect before they get to see a demo. Whereas before they were selling a demo gets there, they weren't really in context, really didn't understand what was going on, and they exited. Now with the demo and with the structure of the sales process, the structure is generally money, authority, interest, need, the main game, MAIN, money, authority, interest, need. Once you've gone through that structure and really understood the client's desire and what it looks like in the future if they get it right, but also if they get it wrong, having a consequence-based conversation is really powerful. Then you can move the customer.
Sorry. I was just going to say.
No. That's it. I was about to say, thank you for joining my TED Talk.
A business comes to you, they've got finite resources. We've got this, all these different platforms that they can potentially create exposure through. How do you fine tune or try and allocate the resources to the right areas? Because it seems like it's such a big area, is it a scattergun approach, or there's got to be strategy behind it? And that's where, again, you fit into this.
100%. Pick one platform.
Yep.
And then whatever content you generate, you focus it all on one platform, and then use a social media distribution product to push it out on other platforms. And if it's and usually those things resize it. Usually those things can move it around. But really, pick one. If you're in B2B, you can't go past LinkedIn. LinkedIn every day. There are a billion people on LinkedIn, sure, but very, very few people are actually putting out valuable content every single week. So you might go, oh, well, it's too noisy. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So put it out there, but also connect with your target customer. But the last thing you want to do is exactly what I've done and deleted this morning. No, I didn't do, but I received these messages. Is they go, thanks for connecting, Matthew. Here's the 94 things that we can do, and we're amazing, and you need us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that just, once again, the brain is an amazing deletion device. I couldn't tell you the names of any of those people, but the one or two people that did engage me in a conversation, the one or two people that actually wanted to engage me like a human being, they get my time.
Yeah.
And how do you see this going forward? The evolution of social media and marketing. Is there changes afoot that you see that are going to be significant, or is it still the basic? There's still the same fundamentals apply.
Humans haven't really evolved much. Like seriously, we're 200 years ago we were pushing plows. And then the tractor came along, and everyone went, "Oh, the world is over," because now the tractors do all the work. So attention, so if you remember a good old sales movie, attention, interest, desire, action. So the ADA approach as well. So it's that sort of stuff. Really, it doesn't really change. You've just got to create and approach your customers. All you got to so. 4-step framework for almost everything is, first of all, know your target market intimately. And the more narrow you are in your target market, the better you're going to be. Simple as that. GPs get paid very well. Knee surgeons get obscene amounts of money. My wife broke her wrist when we were overseas in Canada last year, and she had to see an orthopedic surgeon who just dealt with elbow down problems. Guys getting paid.
Yes.
Right. And so, and I'm not, GPs are essential to the world. I mean, I'm not saying GPs don't, but if you want to really have the fullest expression of your expertise, niche as narrow as you possibly can, solve a problem as narrow as you possibly can, and then build from there. So there's that. It's get known for those people. And then, so step one, get known by your target market and get known really deeply. What are they really dealing with? Then second of all, you've got to get their attention. And that is because attention is, Gary Vaynerchuk says, attention, the attention economy, or his book was called Day Trading Attention. It's the highest valuable thing you can do is get attention of your customers. If Shaquille O'Neal decided to go into competition with you or me this week, we'd be out of business pretty damn fast.
Yes. Yeah.
His ability to do a chart of accounts is probably pretty low. And his ability to sell software is probably not great. But the attention that he can drive in the market, and that's why when businesses partner with celebrities, businesses, that's why they go on Shark Tank. It's 20% of the value of Shark Tank is actually getting money. The rest of it's exposure.
And I was going to ask that too, because I was going to ask about influence before you talked about Shaq. But so influencers can be part of this in terms of high-profile celebrities or otherwise, if they can 100%. Push a product. Because I know Shaq, 100%. Sports bet. I know Shaq. You think about it every single time. Those ads.
Exactly.
And I mean, Uber, the way Uber have taken on all the different athletes and the different celebrities, and they just have them in one ad, and it's just that ad, and then it moves on to the next one. And everyone knows those brands because of the communication and the attention.
We're attaching, and it's contextual too, right? So it's beautifully contextual. We're delivering Andy Murray, right, with the tennis. So that's the sort of stuff that we need to think about. So there's not much point getting a TikTok dance person to represent your accounting firm.
Probably not.
So it's got to be reasonably contextual.
Yes.
But certainly see if you can drive those people forward. But the thing is, influence is. If you think about, there might be a networking group that we go to, and I'm always looking for this is a term taught to me a long time ago called the spider in the web. So who sits in the middle of this web of this circle of influence or this web? And it's usually the organizer. So if you can have a conversation with the organizer, that's a mini piece of it's a microcosm of the world. But then you can find the influencer in that, and that person can introduce you to your next customer.
Yeah.
So then the third part of that framework is nurturing, is show up, multiple platforms, multiple hours of content, and just so they can see you having a conversation. Does this person actually know what they're talking about, or is it being curated down to a soundbite or a blog that might be written by ChatGPT, or and so how do we really know this person's for us? And the fourth part, and so many tech businesses forget to do this, or they have this sort of this aversion to it, is make an offer.
Yeah.
I actually ask them to buy. And create a timeline, create a value piece, create more value, find something to package together that is usually time based. And it will drive the person to make a decision, because if you're always there and always available, then there's no motivation or inspiration to do it now.
Yeah.
And unless you catch the person now, then they've got 100,000, as you said before, there's 1,000 other options. And also life takes over. You've got to drop the kids off at school and I'm busy, and it gets forgotten.
Yeah. Can you share with us an example of a company that you've worked with in this business model, Matt, where they've come to you, they've had a really great product and you've seen that it's a really great product, but they've had no clue other than the fact that it's a great product. Like, as I said, tech people, they come up with the absolute brilliant idea or brilliant product, and then it sits on a shelf somewhere because they don't sell it. What's an example of where you have taken that widget to the next level?
Yep. So I won't share specifically the name or share the industry,
absolutely.
but because they really did know they had a good product. And I'll tell you exactly like literally the step-by-step process. So I give away all my IP. People can implement themselves, or of course they can contact me. But really, I don't believe that that's the way I think about business is if they want it done, they can get it through me. If they want to do it themselves, and I'll just tell you, this is exactly how we did it. This company, great product, very incredible product. They were solving a problem for medical legal businesses. So, which is before I got exposed to how big that industry is, it's absolutely insane how this largest medical industry, medical. So if you get a twist your ankle trying to play tennis after being inspired this weekend, then you're going to go to your GP. Great first step. Oh, okay. You now need to, and you did it on company time because it was a company event. Now we need to go through insurance to get this fixed. Well, there's always that next step to figure out whether or not the specialist and the GP are accurate that this happened at this time and who we need to pay out. Cool. So then insurance company will organize this company to make sure that your ankle is done in and all that type of stuff. So this business, this customer of mine had built the software that ran their entire company. The only other software they needed was Xero and Outlook. Everything from booking appointments, making sure that the elbow down surgeon or the knee down surgeon was the right one. Some customers, some patients have a preference for a particular type of doctor, male, female, ethnicity, whatever it might be, and doctors the same. And so all of this complexity lives in the system, and it used to be done by humans, now it's being done by software, all the way down to, we know that Chelsea likes a flat white at 10:30. We're going to communicate that through the software to the cafe downstairs and have that delivered. Okay, so these guys were able to, and the software was able to double productivity for this customer. Double and a half the productivity, double and a half the number of customers they could actually see on a weekly basis. So double and a half their revenue with increasing 0 new customers. So incredible software, very, very capable, great software. They hadn't sold it to many people. So what we did is, so I'm just setting the scene. Now this is how we executed on the sales process. We then started writing a case study. because you got to say what you can do and then prove you can do it.
Yep.
So we wrote a case study. And in the meantime, we also started connecting with other CEOs of medical legal businesses in LinkedIn. Nothing special there.
Yep.
And we just messaged them. We didn't go in with a sales pitch. We said, hi, you're like my other customers. Nice to connect.
Yep.
Then we've sent a few other pretty reasonably non-salesy messages. Nice to be connected. How are you going? That type of stuff. Some people do respond, some people don't. Then what we said is, hey, we're writing a case study about this, and this for businesses like this, and we're seeing outcomes like this. Would you like to read the case study when it's done?
Yep.
And what happened is we created anticipation rather than saying ramming the case study down the throat. We said created anticipation about the case study. The CFO sent that message to the CEO before the case study had even been finished, and they'd organised a conversation because the messages were really well written. And then they'd organised the conversation. I also changed the sales process with this customer. This customer was going in, doing all this work. They would come back with an order of magnitude. So basically, how big the product would be: 25, 30 pages of consulting. For free. But people don't value what they get for free. So they would go, oh, that's nice, sales document.
Exactly.
So what we did is we made the customer pay for it. We charged them $10,000 for that piece of that document. Created a bit of friction in the purchase process because once again, if you're always available, you're never ready to. They're never exciting. We said you can't buy it unless you've actually proved to yourself that you can get value out of it. They paid for the process. They paid for the audit, and then then the next thing is where they were able to close out a deal because the document came through. They said, "Yep, I'm loving it," and they purchased. And that was about $1 million. $2 million over the next 5 years contract worth. So it's showing. So knowing your target market, communicating with them really effectively. So knowing who they are, getting their attention. Nurturing the relationship without being without ramming your sales offer, ramming your sales, and then making an offer. So that's how we help them close. So we changed the marketing process and the sales process.
And that's the thing. Marketing and sales are different, and a lot of people think they are the same. They're put in the same basket, aren't they? And they shouldn't be.
Well, every time they go, sales and marketing manager. You're either a salesperson like me, who does marketing because it facilitates the sales. Or you're a marketer who goes, oh well, sales is so we hopefully that we generate enough leads that the numbers work out. So very different disciplines.
How do you have a conversation with your clients about that and about how you? In order to be successful, you have to ask for their business, don't you? You can't just say, oh, we'll just let them do their thing. It's really hard for people, isn't it, to say, please buy from me. This is what I've got this, please buy from me. How do you have those conversations with your clients? Because that is a really hard thing. When you've developed this beautiful product or service or whatever, you don't want to say to somebody, please buy my stuff. What's the education process around that?
Yeah, that's a really good question because it's a delicate dance of pressure, but without being. So the customer has to kick their own bruise. The customer knows they've got a problem. My accounts are out of order. I'm not earning enough returns in the marketplace. And then what we do through the sales process is we position it where do you want to be? How does it look like? Where are you now? If you continue along the same path as where you are now and what you're achieving in the next 12 months, 36 months, are you going to be happy with that? You ask a question. I'm just talking about my sales process, not you can sort of overlay this onto our customers. Are you happy with being in the same place in 12 or 36 months' time, whatever the timeline is? And then you also flip it. And then you go, well, then I don't want to say give up, but also you let go of being desperate for the sale because desperate salespeople it's smell of desperation, right? So it's same with dating, same with selling. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're desperate, you're not going to get any action. And so what we need to say, so what I teach my customers to say is once you've gone through that evaluation process, well, look, Mr. Jones, you're here, you want to be there. Why don't you just go ahead and do it yourself? Why would you want to engage with a business like mine?
Yep.
So as you say, why would you want to engage with a business like mine? If they go, I don't know, then you've either done a crummy job of actually increasing the level of pain they're going to be in the future, or they don't need you. And this is, if they go, I don't know, you go, well, maybe we're not a good fit.
Yep.
And you've got to let it go. And if they say, yes, we're not a good fit, all the best, goodbye. Because if you ram them closed, they're going to be a crap customer.
Yep.
They're going to be really awful to deal with. They're going to call you, on 2:00 on New Year's Day saying, where are you? I need my customer support.
Yep.
But the thing is, very rarely have I said, why don't you just do this yourself? Or why would you want to engage with a business like mine? You get answers like, we need to do it better, faster. We want guidance. We need some help to do it.
Yeah.
And then, because my clients are very rarely salespeople, and the interim step between being founder-led sales and having a salesperson is the founder needs to be better at sales.
Yeah.
And I get them to, I teach them a very soft close, you don't want to see, back in the day we had to, the 101 closes to, psychologically manipulate your customers.
Yes.
That's not it. It's not it, because people can just go, goodbye. Now it's, well, look, Chelsea, it occurs to me that we're a good fit. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's soft, it's reasonable, it makes it more about me and my perception of the reality, not you should buy this because you need me desperately. It's, well, it occurs to me that we're a good fit. What do you think?
Yeah.
And if they go, yeah, I think so. So, well, would you like me to talk about the next steps?
Yep.
Yes, I would.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a different conversation, isn't it? Because as you said, the whole sales branding around like how do you succeed in sales? Like there are 1,000 books out there that say, this is the way you should do it. And there's not a lot of psychology involved in the conversation, is it? It's more about, as you said, the ram it down people's throat and make you be the loudest, at these things.
And also people feel icky when they're getting sold to, and they know that these people, nobody's beamed down from the moon and never had a sales approach and never bought a car and never had that icky sort of, not saying car.
And we've all talked about it too, right? We've all shared that with our, friends and family, like that icky sales process. So.
That's it. And people show up, a lot of my clients being engineers, they almost to a point where they never want to be perceived as a salesperson. So they get to a point, their brain they click over and go, oh, I don't want to ask for the money that'll make me a salesperson, which makes me the bad guy.
Yep.
So they say things like, well, why don't you ever think about it and come back to me in the next week or so?
Yep.
And I just want to say, for the listeners, nobody ever thinks about anything.
Yeah.
Nobody comes home and goes, darling, put the children in the other room, turn the TV off. I need to dim the lights a bit. I just need to sit and think about this.
Yeah.
Right, nobody does that. So thinking is not, nobody thinks about anything. So how do they feel about that? How do they engage? Now, if you want to do some thinking music, okay, well, that's fine. Look, 2 heads are typically better than 1.
Yeah.
What are the 3 or 4 things that you're thinking about when it comes to a purchase like this?
Yeah. So your recommendation is to not just say let people think about it, but to say let's think about it together. Like let's brainstorm what you're thinking of together.
Yep.
Yeah.
And typically the thinking about it, once again, buyers aren't stupid. Buyers have a process. A lot more buyers have a buying process than sellers have a selling process. So many so many clients of mine, I say, well, tell me about the sales process. Oh, somebody inquires and then we meet with them and do a demo and they buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's the mechanics of that? And they just keep meeting. And I even met with a really successful real estate, a new home builder back when I first got back from Bali, and I was just doing sales consulting, being tipped into various businesses. And they go, oh, well, I said, well, after the first meeting, what happens? Oh, well, then we have another meeting. And then what happens? And what do you call that meeting?
Yeah.
No. So we actually named each meeting. We branded the meeting. We owned the meeting. And we go, well, at this point, most people typically do this. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
And actually increase their sales, 5-fold. So we want to make sure that we're owning the process all the way along, giving the customer plenty of ways to get out of it, because once again, you don't want to ram it home, because if you do, you create a crappy customer.
Yeah.
So I think I lost the thread on what your question was.
That's okay. We'll forget about the thread. What is if you had someone who was, really early stages in the development of a product, and they were thinking about, they're a tech person, they're an engineer, they don't really know. What advice would you give them, which was like your number one piece of advice? So if you could only say to them, there's just this one thing that you need to focus on as part of your product development, what would it be?
The earlier you engage with the market, the better.
Yeah, yeah.
The earlier, the better.
Mm-hmm.
The earlier you can have a conversation with 100 people about your thing who are in your target market. Like you might have worked inside of the building industry and you're going to build a piece of software for the building industry, and you might have sat in your basement plugging out, punching out code for the last 6 months. The longer you spend building, the less time, the longer you spend building without engaging with the market, the worse you're going to be, because you think that I'm sorry, there was one Steve Jobs who only ever talked to himself about products.
Yeah.
One of one. You're not it.
Yeah.
So I'm not it.
Yeah.
So that, and people go, oh, well, Steve Jobs couldn't even code. Well, still, I mean, yes.
I don't think that made a lot of difference to Steve Jobs, did it?
So you've got to engage with the market early. And so there are a lot of accelerators. There's a lot of tech gets-togethers. There's, I'm sure, Google technology accelerator, technology networking, technology whatever.
Yep.
Or even if you're going to go after construction get-togethers.
Yeah.
And go, hey, I'm really early stages in my product development, but the problem I saw is this, and this, and this.
Yep.
We've solved that using, magic. Is that of interest?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's like almost, and we've had these conversations in our office as well, Matt, because I think that, as we've said, being salesy is not people's favourite thing to do. And even though we're not engineers in here, we're still, all accountants and professionals, lawyers.
I think accountants
and that
almost
sort of
like engineers a bit, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying,
Absolutely.
completely anti-sales conversation. So they don't even like to market themselves. Like they don't like to talk about themselves. And that's one thing that you don't need to be always going out and selling. It's about meeting people, isn't it? It's about knowing people and understanding people. And this is what you're saying. It's not, we call it networking because that's what people who are, like to meet people call it, networking. But what you're saying here is just know as much as you can know about things. If you've got a product, know the people that you will sell your product to. It doesn't mean you have to go out and shake 1 million hands and hand out 1 million business cards. It's about knowing the people that you're trying to work with, solve problems for and whatever. And we tell our team that it's really important to just be curious. And this is the same sort of thing, isn't it? It's curiosity about what you're producing and how it will impact on the people that you're producing it for.
That's it. Well, the great American philosopher Ted Lasso said, be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
And so judging what the other person is going to think about you, oh, well, they're not going to like me or my product or my haircut, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you just go curious, hey, I'm curious about this. And you know what? It's amazing. Scarlett from Gone with the Wind said, I've always relied on the kindness of strangers. And so if you go to a networking event and have a conversation and say, I'm trying to do this, what do you think?
Yep.
Do you know anybody else doing this type of thing?
Yeah.
You'll be blown away with the response that you get.
Yeah. I think we're very people, obviously nobody likes to be judged, and in these situations you kind of think that you're going to go out and ask people for their advice, and they're going to look at you and say, what are you asking me for? How do you manage that as how do you coach your clients about how they put themselves in those situations?
I do, and I do, and I use the going back to the spider and the web way of thinking. As I walk into, I don't like, funnily enough, being in sales and marketing, putting myself out for hours a week on social media. Yeah. I actually don't really like. I have a terrible imposter syndrome, so I think that other people are going to judge me. So I give out the advice, but basically I'm talking to myself. Right?
Yeah.
I should put myself on this and just talk to me. But this is what I do is I walk into a networking event, or I walk into any type of event. I find the person who's influential, usually the person who's organised it, or the two I see, and go and have a conversation. And have a conversation, because they will want to have a conversation. They'll happily have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
They sort of have to,
Yes.
because they've organised it and you're a guest of theirs. And you go, well, look. Would you mind introducing me to somebody that, you now know what I do? Hey, John, you now know what I do, and I don't want to take all your time. Who else here should I speak to?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to talk to Fred.
Yeah.
You go, okay, well, let me just turn people are texting me, which is great. So who else should I speak to here? They go, oh, look, Chelsea might be able to help you with that. Look, would you mind introducing me to Chelsea? I don't want to just walk up cold. That giving somebody a job that's easy, that allows them to move on with their life.
Yes.
People go, come with me. They will march you over there straight to Chelsea and go, hey, Chelsea, this is John. John has a really cool thing that does this, and this, because he's not going to go, John, and then turn heel and walk. He's going to go, hey, you got to meet this guy because of this, and this.
Yeah.
I'll leave it with you.
Yeah.
And what you've done is you've swung from one person to the next, and now it's a comfortable conversation. You've been given a bit of a mini testimonial.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're in that conversation next.
Yeah.
And that's how I teach people to do it. Energy and people, as I said, a couple hundred years ago, we were pushing plows. So people and 10,000 years before that, we were worried about tigers.
Yeah.
So that mind of people know what's going on in the room. And if you walk in there and stop dead and look around, all that power gets drained out of you, that momentum and power. So actually, I've done this myself. I've done the pretend phone call. Walks back out, gone, right, Matthew, sort it out.
Yeah,
Walk in there with purpose, walk direct, even if there's a group of 5 people with backs facing. But if you walk in the room and walk directly up to them, panicking the whole way, but walking up and go, hello, instinctively that group will open up and you'll be able to walk in.
Yeah.
It's never not worked.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we, just don't like to put ourselves out there necessarily, do we? It's a really hard thing to do. But on that note, Matt, I'm going to let you get back to your day so that you can text back the people that are probably very keenly trying to get some sales advice from you on some fantastic product that's coming on.
That's right.
I really appreciate the time that you've spent with us today, and we will send all of your details to our listeners via all of the usual means that we do, and we'll probably actually get you to give us some of your sales and marketing tips so that we can add them to our newsletters as well, because I think it's really good common sense advice that can be broadly applied to all industries. I don't think this is a specific thing to the tech industry. I think what you're saying here is just the common sense of, when you've got a business and you want to do sales and marketing, there's some things that business owners need to be able to do. And I think it's really important that we all do share our info, just like you have already said, that it's not always about being a client or a customer of your business or our business. We just like to share information for our general community to be part of. And we really appreciate that you've taken the time to spend with us today. And we'll share the news about you and how people can get in touch with you. We do have some tech businesses on our list, so they might be interested to be in touch with you, but really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
An absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Q&A with S&A. We'll see you next time.